Gotcha!
Hello everyone, and welcome to another Monster Hunter Wilds video. It is I, Mr. Gameconomist, and today I'm making my third video in a row. We are reviewing, of course, all the weapons. I haven't done this yet. So they released these about maybe 2 weeks ago. You'll notice I've already watched them all, and that's because I already made a video, and I just didn't like the way the audio balancing was. It was like 43 minutes long. And it was my first time watching those videos, so it really sucks that I didn't get to upload that. But we're going to be watching it a second time now, and it's probably for the best. You know why? Because I'm going to have already an understanding of what I'm looking at. So here we go. We're starting with the Greatsword. You've probably already seen this if you're a big fan of Monster Hunter Wild. Maybe you haven't seen this, though. This might be your first time. So we're starting out with Greatsword. Very popular weapon. This was a top 5 weapon, I would argue. Yeah, everyone loved this. Slow attacks, right? Really basic to use, but difficult to time. There's the charge, the tackle, I mean. Tackle's still in the game. There's the guard. This new upswing. Oh, yeah. Actually, I have a question. Was that upswing a focus attack? Hold on. No, it was just a new attack. Do you guys think that's like a counterattack? I feel like it's a counterattack. I mean, I don't think that the Greatsword needs a counterattack because it's got the tackle, but who knows? Yeah, upswing's awesome. All right. Whatever that was, it blocking the monster's mouth. I thought I saw the heavy bowgun doing that too. Greatsword looking great. Gonna be popular, I already know. Okay, so that's Greatsword. Heavy bowgun, one of my most played and favorite weapons. I was well known for my heavy bowgun builds in Monster Hunter World. I just love the way it looks. I love the way it feels too when you use it. I like how it's hard to maneuver with the heavy bowgun, like you're punished for using it. I like how it calls it a long-range weapon, but all the attacks are being done in close range. Here's your machine gun mode. Those look like just basic ammo, right? On top of the auto guard function, you can also guard incoming attacks manually. So is that new? Hold on, let's go back. I had to watch that a couple times. He smacks, and it almost looks like the manual guard is very similar to what the lance has. Use focus mode to target a monster's weak points. Big explosion. That looks like Wyvern's fire kind of move. I don't know what that was. All right, and that looked like he was trying to eat him, but he guarded and got punished for trying to eat him. Very cool. Big fan of the heavy bowgun. It looks really good. I liked what I saw. Here's the insect glaive. So again, I've already watched these. What I didn't like about the insect glaive is it did not use as many aerial attacks as I was hoping for. You know, because what made insect glaive good is the continuous aerial attacks you could do, but we'll have to see. Actually, you know what I don't like about the insect glaive? Managing the bug. Could you imagine the weapon if there was no bug? No bug and more aerial attacks. Alright, so half the time you're using an insect glaive, you're just trying to get your stupid bug to do its... Oh, hit him in the tail, hit him in the tummy, and that can get really annoying. Alright, insect glaive users are going to be like, get good. Okay. Nice. He approaches from the air, he grabs onto his head. I thought that was great. That was cool too. Oh my god, that's the coolest thing right there. The way he was corkscrewing, that looked really good. So the corkscrew looked good. I gotta see that again. Was that the focus attack? So hold on. So extracting milk. Alright, so there's the approach. Grapple his head. This is some kind of dodging attack, huh? And then that doesn't appear to be a focus attack. This appears to be a regular attack. Same with that. That appears to be a regular attack too. Very good. I like the insect glaive. It does fulfill a unique role. You know that, right? Like, there were certain monsters like Devil Joe or Lunastra. I'm trying to think of others. Maybe you can name another one in the comments section. But there were certain monsters that seemed to be easier to attack with the insect glaive because their attacks just didn't cover their wing area or their back. So insect glaive, sometimes really good. Who was that one monster? He was the end game for the base story. There's too many monsters. I can't remember all their names. For the base story, there was the final monster. Did he have an X in the name? I can't remember. Xenomorph or something like that. And I think he was weak to the insect glaive as well. You could just float all over him for like the entire match. using the constant aerial moves. So gun lance. Gun lance is, I would argue, more fun than the lance. Remember, guys, lance, the worst weapon in the game. All right, let's see. I'm messing with you guys. Don't get angry. Don't get triggered. Weapon with long reach and the ability to fire explosive shells. Yeah, something like that. All right. So, but you know, the lance was better at guarding than the gun lance because it had like the actual counterattacks, right? That looks like a counterattack. Was that a new counterattack move for the gun lance? Because if so, that'd be interesting. Do you guys still think the long shells will be the most popular? Oh my god, that looks so fun. Okay, here's this new focus attack. Very interesting. Looks good. Oh my god, he is just smacking this guy. I actually didn't like the gun lance builds where they were like sophisticated attack patterns. You know, when you had to go through the whole combo and release like 6 or 7 shells. I just like the long range shell builds. Those were very simplistic and allowed you to focus more on your survivability, you know, not making any mistakes and just taking careful pokes with high damage. All right, hunting horn. So, yeah, the first video I made, the first review was like 43 minutes long. I had so much to say about hunting horn, man. I love this weapon. It was one of my more played weapons. I think it was like a top 5 or top 3 for me. I can't remember. What were my top 3? It was hammer, heavy bowgun, hunting horn, and lance. Those were like my top 4 weapons, by the way, if you guys didn't know that. I don't know. I have to look my stats up. We can do that. I gotta play some Monster Hunter World with you guys live. You guys want to play live with me? Be sure to join our Discord server. We'll play some Monster Hunter World live together before this game comes out. Place Echo Bubbles. Hell yeah, dude. Get in that bubble. It looks like he's taking constant damage from the bubble, which is a very cool idea. Unless I'm misreading that. Here. Special effects in the area. Hold on. So he sets the bubble down. One more look at that. So there's the bubble, right? It looks like... Oh, are those the standard attacks? Those are the standard attacks. Never mind. I didn't... Listen, my complaint with the hunting horn is that it's really good in a group, and even that's arguable, by the way, but it's good in a group. But when you play solo, it sucks because you only hand the buff out to yourself. So my idea for fixing that was that the hunting horn, that's cool, the hunting horn should give the buff out to itself ×4. And then all of a sudden, it's going to do really well. It's going to be a really fun solo weapon. Wow. Now, wait a second. We got to rewatch that because I didn't catch that the first time I reviewed this. So this is focus mode. So all the weapons get this new attack, the focus mode attack. It's cool. I like it. It's great. But what is this thing afterwards? So, was that like a mounted attack that he was using? Wait, I got a question. Is the claw still in the game? Can you still grapple onto enemies and attack off of them? So is the grappling claw still in the game? Okay, hold on. What was that? Did you see that backflip? It looked like a dodge attack. Boom. Alright, very cool. Hard to tell. That looked kind of like some kind of tackling move. Very neat. Alright, hunting horn done. Longsword gets special treatment. Longsword, maybe the most popular weapon in the game, is longsword. People love it. Perfect for tripping your teammates so that your teammates don't do any damage and you do all the damage. A weapon that excels at tripping your opponents, tripping your teammates. With the sharp eye and good timing, you can counter incoming attacks. Spirit gauge. Yeah, when I started playing the longsword, I was like, oh, this is why everyone plays it. Because it was so easy. You couldn't fail with the longsword. Alright, focus mode to target a weapon, a monster's wounds and weak points. That's cool. He just, yeah, okay, he just countered and used the Helmbreaker or whatever the hell it's called. I'm curious, you know, after the Iceborne DLC came out, they added new moves to all the weapons, and I didn't really master the new moves on the longsword. So I'm wondering if those new moves are going to be in this game from Iceborne, or if they're going to be taken back and it's just going to be the standard moveset. But so we'll find out more about that. Here's Charge Blade. One of the more complicated weapons to use in the game was Charge Blade. You had to be comfortable using it as a sword and shield and then as an axe. Kind of like the Switchblade a little bit, but I would say more confusing than the Switchblade in that regard. Because it's very like disorienting going from the sword and shield to the axe. But yeah, so this weapon, it actually was pretty popular. I felt like it did a lot of damage, and it had a guarding option, and yeah, people seem to really like this one. This was one of the last weapons I was learning, and it took a lot to learn it because it was so complicated. Like, look, he's just letting one vial out with that attack, as opposed to doing the attack combo that releases them all out at one time. Dish out massive damage in axe mode. Whew. Oh, what was that? That was cool. Charged files can power up different aspects of the weapon. And it looks like he can... Oh, he was charging the weapon. That's why they call it the Charge Blade. Alright, let's see this focus mode attack. Yeah, getting that chainsaw. Smack ya. And there it is, the standard attack with the files coming out. Very popular weapon. Charge Blade, still looking really fun and powerful. Okay, I didn't have a lot to say about the Charge Blade. Although, I think I made one comment, and that is, I feel like the Charge Blade almost makes Sword and Shield feel a little redundant. Because I know Sword and Shield's got the unique thing where it's very, like, quick to sheath, you can eat. But, you know, if you wanted a shield and a sword... Well, Charge Blade's got it, and then when you've done good with the shield and the sword, you go into axe mode and release a ton of damage. So I feel like it kind of competes with sword and shield for attention. Same with the dual blades, but in a different way. Okay, so now we've got the hammer. Hammer time. This is my favorite melee weapon. I found it to be more satisfying than the greatsword, and it is so straightforward. It is the bonk weapon, but I was very worried when I watched this review because they did not show off... Look at that, that's so fun. They did not show off aerial attacks. And aerial attacks were a big part of the reason why the hammer was so fun. But I can't imagine that they took it away, it's just too fun. There's your standard bonk. Get bonked on, bro. Also, it looked kind of like he had super armor in the middle of the bonk, which is fantastic if that's what they were showing off. Because that was a major problem with getting interrupted by your teammates. Okay, and I like this too. Look at this. What is he doing there? So is that like you can stand in place and charge the hammer for more and more damage? Because if that's in the game now, that looks really good. So hammer's looking really fun. Again, my favorite physical weapon is the hammer. A nice cheap weapon to use. All right. Light bowgun. I loved the heavy bowgun. I didn't love the light bowgun quite as much. It often felt like a weaker heavy bowgun. But they were really good at the elemental ammo. Remember that, guys? All right, let's see. So, yep, you can definitely move around with the light bowgun. You're sure moving. All right. He's definitely pew-pewing. Why would you use this rather than the bow is my question, right? So the mines are cool, though. The mines were always pretty neat. But seriously, if you wanted a highly maneuverable, long-range weapon, just go with the bow. And then if you wanted, like, the special ammo, that's so fun. So I like those jumps. Those look a lot of fun. But, you know, if you wanted the heavy ammo, you went with the heavy bowgun. And if you wanted maneuverable long-range weapon, you went with the bow. So I always felt that the light bowgun had a difficult time competing with those two options. Like when I went to reach for a weapon, why would I ever choose light bowgun over the heavy bowgun? Now there was a case use for it, and it was the elemental ammo. Remember that? So that was the case use. Now sword and shield is next. Maybe one of the lesser popular weapons. It was good for heal builds. Remember that? Oh yeah. Why use a big weapon when you can use a toothpick? The lance is a toothpick. This is like a half toothpick. The problem with the sword and shield is you often didn't actually guard with the sword and shield. Also, see how they showed that he just stunned the monster with the shield? You know, in a real difficult fight, it didn't work like that. That monster will have such a high KO, you know, internal value that you'll never get that KO out with the simple shield attack. Sure, on little Jagras here, Jagras copycat here, you'll probably get the KO, but not on some super, you know, primal alpha monster or some dragon. It won't happen. It might happen. we don't know how they balanced it ultimately. And there's the, all right, and that's it. There is the sword and shield, looking a lot like the sword and shield. I have a problem with the sword and shield, and I noticed this in the last game too, and you can disagree with me, but a lot of people just prefer the dual blades. Just use if you want a little sword, just use the dual blades. Because a lot of people don't build to guard with the sword and shield's tiny shield, right? Because you needed all the guard up points, you needed the special guard gem or whatever. That's the whole problem with all the shield weapons, including in this, probably particularly the lance. You remember I was highly critical of that weapon. So sword and shield, though, has one advantage. It can eat quickly, which makes it technically the best healing weapon. But you know what's better than healing your whole team, your whole doofy team? Just killing the monster faster. All right, next up we got Switch Axe. Remember the Wiggler helmets and the healing? All right, Switch Axe sort of felt... I'll be honest, you know, Switch Axe felt like the longsword in some regards, except the longsword had this awesome counterattack move that was super useful. The Switch Axe doesn't have that, so you just have to rely on good timing and good dodging, which is fine, but it's just sort of made you wonder, why am I using the Switch Axe? The Switch Axe would charge up and have like an attack where it could like cling to the monster, so I was hoping to see that in that trailer. We didn't see that. You know, where the Switch Axe sort of like connects and clings onto the enemy. Smack. There it is. It's in this charged up mode. I mean, it looked like the Switch Axe. It was okay. Switch Axe can be really fun. It just keeps hacking and slashing. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right. Simple weapon for simps. Let's see. The bow. So it's obvious that Capcom Monster Hunter dev team prefers the bow, because when I watched this, I was like, no way. I wish it could have been my first time watching it with you guys, but again, I had audio trouble on my first recording. This weapon is so loved because they keep adding cool stuff to it, you know what I mean? Like, here's the basic attacks, right? And then, what are we going to do here? He does like a dodge attack soon, right? Hold on. There it is. What? What is that? Okay. He's still got the regular dodge, but look, he can also jump now too. Like again, why are we using the light bow gun when we've got this insane auto-tracking bow now? Like, it just doesn't, come on, Capcom, it doesn't make sense. So there better be a very good reason to use the light bow gun. Look, even the dragon attack, tracked or whatever it was, I can't remember the name of all the moves, there's like a million moves. That's still working? Like, what is this? Yeah, right, bro. Oh my god, man. And he gets the aerial attack. Yeah, I don't know. Look, what was that, like a super shotgun? Alright. I'm sick of it! That's called Bow Supremacy. Now here we are, onto the worst weapon in the game, the lance. Now I made a very controversial video where I said the lance was actually bad at defense. Let's go over my reasoning with it once again. Maybe my biggest gripe, and maybe they've gotten rid of this, maybe one of my biggest gripes with the lance was that it always required all this guard up and all the special guard, right, in order to do the one thing it's supposed to be good at, which is guarding opponents. But you know, there was a lot of things with the lance. If you're guarding a lot in a game, which you pretty much have to with the lance, if you're guarding a lot, you take a lot of chip damage. Well, with weapons where you don't have to guard a lot, you actually just learn how to dodge. So you don't take any chip damage at all because you just dodge. Other weapons like the longsword, they don't even need to dodge. They just counterattack. So, you know, I really struggled to see how the lance fit in as a defensive weapon when you could have been building more damage, and that damage would have given you health steal, right? When you're attacking the enemy, you get to heal up. So like the hammer, for example, I was always surprised when I was running around with the hammer, I'd get hit once or twice, I'd just heal right up with the hammer's heavy damaging attacks. But with the lance, because you're taking so much chip damage, like guaranteed damage, you would constantly have to see a heal, and then it would just do these little pokes for little damage in comparison to the hammer. You know, it didn't have like special aerial moves. The one thing Lance had going for it maybe was you could like just stand there and poke the enemy a lot. But then on top of that, why couldn't you just do that with the gun lance? Because the gun lance had like those long shells, right? But the long shells don't really require you to sharpen too much. I don't think you had to sharpen at all, did you? I don't remember. I don't think you had to sharpen. But more importantly, what's really important about the idea of the long shells, they never deflect off of an opponent. Okay, so the long shells just always dish out really consistent damage, whereas the lance, if it needed to be sharpened and you couldn't easily sheath it and sharpen it somewhere, reposition, your lance would start to risk bouncing off the enemy. So, there was always a weapon kind of doing something better than the lance, with the gun lance over here. And yeah, but so that's my commentary on the lance. You can hate me for it if you want, but those are all fair assessments, I would say. Not to mention, when you looked at the speed runs, lance and hunting horn were at the bottom. It was the lance and the hunting horn. They were at the bottom for speed runs. So, hate on me all you want. Those were just the facts. All right. Some people really love the lance. By the way, I feel like it's fair for me to talk about it. It was one of my most used weapons. It was like top 4 or something like that.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
The lance is a weapon with top class defense. You know what's good defense? Is a dead monster. All right, let's see. I'll stop griping. So he's got his regular pokes. Very nice. I saw that bonus poke there. Did you guys see that? You got a little hammer smashy move. The regular counterattacks. Very nice. The running attack. Swipe behind your move. All right, there's your focus move. He's able to jump and attack. Not all weapons can jump and attack. Did you know that? The lance was one of the weapons that could do that. So the lance could trigger a mounting if it wanted to. It's something you don't think about with the lance. It's able to trigger a mounting. Yeah, right there. That's considered aerial damage. All right, but all they have to do with the lance to make it feel better, in my opinion, is just up the damage. Bada bing, bada boom. So they could either make it so that the lance doesn't need so many defensive items to actually use the shield. That would be nice. Or they can just up the damage that the lance does per poke. Either way, it would then start to feel fun compared to all these other options. There's a lot of shield weapons. You can actually guard with the greatsword. The heavy bowgun has a shield. The gun lance has a shield. Longsword has a pretty easy to use counter. Charge blade has a shield. Sword and shield has a shield. So there's a lot of shields in the game. And, so that the lance is the premier guarding weapon. But it's so funny because I often felt like I was in these sticky situations with the lance that these other weapons had some easier way of dealing with. Right, like with the heavy bowgun, you got the long roll, and you can do the extended roll item on it. And you just roll super far away from your opponent. The lance couldn't really get into that roll so fast. It can get into the charge, but the charge takes a windup. All right, dual blade. So dual blade's an interesting weapon, by the way, because remember I was kind of dogging on the sword and shield earlier? So the reason I'm dogging on it is because you got the charge blade, which is a sword and shield option, but also if you just want to do more damage, you got the dual blade option. And so what's the sword and shield good at? Because dual blade's going to come in and just chippity choppity, smickety smackety, bibbity boppity. Charge blade's going to come in and you can be kind of defensive with your sword and shield when you feel like you need it, and still swap into heavy damage mode and increased attack, range. Sword and shield really just sort of had some interesting aerial looking moves and the ability to drink potions quickly, which is, it's not a bad skill, but it's like, I often just felt like using either the dual blades or the charge blade rather than sword and shield. So what do you guys think of that? All right, here it is, dual blades. Let's get into it. Dual blades looked outstanding, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. All right. Pippity pop. Smickety smack. Very demure. Very mindful. He's like, hey, how would you like it if I smacked you a bit? A little back step there. Look at that little dodge. Yeah, dodging as it turns out. Oh! Oh! Oh my god, that's so nice. It's so konnichiwa. Look at that, like a windmill, dude. Fantastic. Yeah, visual attacks really matter in this game. If you're not talking about just like pure numbers, like what's the fastest weapon for speedrunning, and dual blades did pretty good, you know, like compared to lance or any of these weapons, dual blade would have some fast speedrun times. It just looks fun to use. That's really important in this game. So bravo on the dual lance, keeping that move from you know, Monster Hunter World. And overall, I don't want to criticize any of the weapon classes too much. Don't get me wrong, guys. They all look good. Again, I played Lance quite a lot, so they're all fun. Play them if you wish. I just, you know, when I perceive that a weapon can be improved in some way, I talk about it. I share my honest opinions. And Insect Glaive, a little worried about aerial attacks. Same with the hammer. My favorite thing with them were the aerial attacks. Is that still a thing? I don't know if it's still a thing. I'm a little bit worried. Hunting Horn, what happens if you're playing solo? Is it just like totally worse than playing with hammer solo? Or is every fight going to be an extra 10 minutes because you didn't bring the hammer? So hammer versus Hunting Horn solo, it's really frustrating. I'd rather be using the hammer than the Hunting Horn. So again, if you're playing a solo fight, they really ought to make the buffs work difference where instead of buffing 4 people, you get 4 buffs, right? And then if your teammates join, those buffs get distributed evenly, right? So if it's like you and a friend, then he gets 2 buffs and you get 2 buffs, right? So that would be fan-freaking-tastic. Longsword looking as OP as ever and very annoying. Charge blade looked great. Hammer looked great. Light bowgun. This is one of those weapons where I'm trying to see how it fits in. How does it fit in? It's probably going to be another elemental weapon build. If I had to guess, it's going to be elemental ammo. So heavy bowgun, light bowgun, and bow are kind of like the long-range weapons, right? But bow's probably going to be the most popular, man. Sword and shield, switch axe. Switch axe, again, sort of competing with the longsword here. Maybe even charge blade a little bit. But so why would you use switch axe when you got the longsword? But, you know, it's a hack and slasher. It's definitely a hacky, slashy weapon. Lance, very good at poking, very good at guarding. But yeah, really end game play, people, they get pretty good at dodging. That's my complaint, dude. Like with the hammer, you just dodge the attack. You just time it right and you iframe through it. So you end up not needing to guard many things. Plus the faster sheath time on many of these weapons. A longsword sheath's really fast. So if an opponent's using a really big attack, you can Superman out of the attack. Whereas having to like tank it with a weapon like this is not good. Dual blade. So again, we can't judge it too fast. I want to see what it's like when the game comes out. I want to see how good Lance is. I want to poke and feel like the pokes are just wrecking the monster, or I want to guard and feel like I don't need to build guard up and guard special or whatever it was called. Dual blades just looked like dual blades. It looked really, really, really nice. The new focus attacks are interesting. I think they kind of explain some of it over here. Focus modes allow you to carefully aim your attacks or guards. Attack or guards you perform in focus mode will be directed where the camera is facing. Interesting. While hunting and attacking the same part of a monster continuously may create wounds on that body part. That's a wound! Attacks to wounds will deal more damage than normal. Yep, it's very much like tenderizing. Focus mode will also highlight any weak points. Focus strike. Get him with the focus strike. Special attacks that deal extra damage to wounds and weak points. Wounds and weak points. That was cool. That was like Wyvern Fire from the light bowgun. I like that. I like to see that kind of thing. More diversity in builds. Weighty weapon with the slow movement attack. Oh, all right. They're going through the weapons again. All right. There you guys have it. I've gone through the weapons. I've done my criticisms, and I've done my comparisons. The best looking weapons right now. I'm going to call it out. So, number 1 weapon in the game, probably going to be bow and longsword. Those are going to be top weapon. Bow, longbow, longsword. And then I'm betting on greatsword. Heavy bowgun will be in the middle. Charge blade. You can't forget the charge blade. Okay, so hold on. So I go again. Bow, longsword, greatsword, charge blade. And then it's going to be like heavy bowgun then, I bet. Heavy bowgun, insect glaive, gun lance, hammer. They're all kind of in the same class of the middle, right? Dual blades might be up there. Dual blades might be up there. Yeah, that might be above hammer and heavy bowgun, possibly. Lower weapons. I'm just calling it out. I don't know what'll happen, but this is my suspicion. Hunting Horn might still be unpopular. It really depends on how powerful it feels. Like if it can keep up with the hammer and damage for the individual, not for the team, but for the guy using it. If it can keep up in damage with the hammer, going to be popular. Same with the lance. If lance gets a big damage buff, it could be very popular. If they don't get the damage buff, and they're basically balanced like the old game, I think they'll rank at the bottom for popularity. I think they will. That's how they were the last game. They were very consistently ranked at the bottom. Hunting Horn and Lance. So I'd like to see that change. I really would. And then Insect Glaive floating somewhere in the lower middle. Don't know. Yeah, I don't know. The whole Kinsect thing was always kind of annoying. Or Insect. Not, is it Kinsect? No, Insect, right? No, it's called a Kinsect. Gunlance 2 tended to be a little on the unpopular side until it wasn't when the long shell builds came out and were super useful against certain enemies. So Insect Glaive and the Gunlance were really useful in certain fights. Okay, and there you have it. That's my assessment of all the weapons. Let me know what you think of the review. I'm Mr. I'm sorry. I'm Mr. Gameconomist. It's like a reflex to say Card Economist. I'm Mr. Gameconomist. Be sure to follow for more Monster Hunter Wilds content. We'll be going live pretty soon, probably for Monster Hunter World, to get a refresher course. I need to get better at the game again, kind of get that feel again. So I'll probably play a little bit of that live. If you want to join me, be sure to jump into our Discord server, okay? All right, I'll see you guys next time.